I am a massive fan of Kingdom Come Deliverance and was extremely excited this past week when reviews started to come out. But there was something odd about these reviews that I couldn't quite put my finger on. My excitement usually peaks when watching glowing reviews about a game that I'm super stoked about, but as I watched the reviews for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, I realized something. They sounded extremely boring. I realized as I watched Luke Stevens. He was talking about how immersive the game was when he shared an example about his horse. He said he spent 45 minutes searching for a horse, all just to get a larger carrying capacity. Spending 45 minutes searching for a horse on paper sounds like one of the most boring things you can do in a game. Heck, I was talking to a friend who said it only took him 20 seconds to pick a horse in Ghost of Tsushima. But as I started playing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and as I remembered my experience with the first game, something clicked. While playing Kingdom Come Deliverance, all these moments began flooding back from past immersive games I had played. All these boring moments that, while I was playing them, didn't feel boring, but when I attempted to explain them, they sounded extremely boring. I started to wonder, what if every immersive game was secretly built with loads of boring systems, but the feeling of immersion is so sweet, most of us never stop to think about how boring it all is. What if the reason none of my friends will play Kingdom Come Deliverance is because it sounds boring as hell when I try to explain it to them? Well, friends, that's because immersive games sound boring on paper. But there are ways to understand this phenomenon. As I like to do on this channel, let's look at this from a game dev's perspective. Why do immersive mechanics often sound boring on paper, but feel incredible when we're in the midst of experiencing them? Let me tell you a story. I was on a podcast a few months ago explaining my new obsession with Kingdom Come Deliverance to 3 of my closest gaming buddies. I was explaining how Kingdom Come Deliverance starts as a come-up story from peasant to noble, how you need to feed and bathe yourself, repair your armor, find a job, and be extremely careful when fighting because swords are lethal. But the response I got was, "Oh, cool, man. Sounds cool." They responded this way because the game sounds boring. So far in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, my favorite part has been blacksmithing. Look at this. It's immersive. I make each sword by actually doing this stuff. The blacksmith even tells me to whistle to keep a rhythm in my head so I strike properly because he doesn't have a radio or another source of music to keep rhythm and pass the time. This is boring. Look at it, it's boring. Being told about it is boring, yet when I'm doing it, I feel like I'm in the world. I get excited about finding more materials to see how making other types of swords work. It makes me feel immersed. Lots of what counts as immersion in games are chores, like blacksmithing, horse shopping, haggling, hunting, and even reading. But chores in a video game help ground you in the world. They exist as more than just chores. They provide context for your player, and they connect you to what you're doing, and by doing so, they immerse you in a place. But chores are boring. They don't make me feel immersed. You're dumb, Payne. Here, let me give you an example using Skyrim. Skyrim is immersive, but not nearly as immersive as Kingdom Come Deliverance. In the beginning of Skyrim, you escape from prison with nothing. You are tired and hungry and have nothing, yet you are allowed to appear immediately in front of royalty, no questions asked. This royal individual called the Jarl tasks you with taking out a dungeon infused with the soul of a dragon. This is fun, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't immerse you in the world. You are immediately accepted as almost nobility and are infused with superpowers from the dungeon. Threats are not much of a threat, and you don't really identify with your character. You feel like a pair of arms in a fantasy RPG, which is not necessarily a bad feeling, but it's just not super immersive. You don't have PTSD from the dragon attack or all the death that you just witnessed. You aren't tired. No one really reacts to the fact that you were imprisoned, and you probably haven't showered in weeks and dressed in rags. It's a video game. They don't really explain it, but people just accept you and you go on your adventure and you don't really think much about it. But think about this. Let's take a look at how immersive the first few hours of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 are. I won't spoil exactly what happens, but I will vaguely outline what happens to illustrate my point. Strangely, The intros are actually very similar. In the beginning of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, you're in a strange land, but have lost access to much of your equipment. You have nothing but some rags on your back, and you're covered in blood. Very similar to Skyrim, you're the lowest of the low. But in Kingdom Come Deliverance, you appear as a beggar. So when you go to talk to the leader of a nearby town to deliver a message you were tasked with delivering, he doesn't even let you into his castle because you look and smell like a beggar. Everyone sees you as nothing and literally throws shit on you. In many games, you would experience this initial hardship via a few cutscenes, but then be given some powerful tools or abilities to let you go out into the world and do as you will. That is not what happens here. In the name of immersion, you are left covered in poop with no money and are told by the game to figure out how to survive. The message you were told to deliver is time sensitive and very important, so you must be clever about how you decide to gain an audience with the leader of the nearby town. Not only to find a way in front of him, but also to gain some status or goodwill, or wealth enough for him to believe that you are who you say you are when you are finally able to deliver your message. The game keeps track of everything. Your PTSD from all of the violence you have seen and committed and gives you flashbacks, your injuries and the actual real time and work it takes to heal them, your lack of armor and weapons causing enemies and guards to be essentially lethal one-shot threats. Your mission becomes as simple as just finding a way to survive before you can do anything epic. Instead of feeling like a pair of arms in a fantasy RPG, you feel like an actual guy in an actual world trying to make his way. You get sucked into his life and what it feels like to begin to actually feel a part of the world. But then, isn't that what makes immersion special? It demands your attention by forcing you to slow down and become a part of a world that reacts to everything you do. The tasks it gives you ground you and attach you to your character. Everything that happens is tied to gameplay and narrative, and you are whisked away to another land forgetting who you are in the year 2025 so that you can find the nearest trough to wash poop off of you in the year 1403. Trust me when I say this game makes you feel a part of the world. My actual favorite thing to do that isn't necessarily immersion based is to play this dice game that's essentially Yahtzee. The game never tells you this, but if you watch some good players, they have different colored dice, and that's because these dice are weighted. You can acquire some weighted dice and use them to cheat, but since the world is filled with cheaters, there's always someone with even better weighted dice. It's like the Balatro version of Yahtzee built right into the game. Sorry, I know that didn't really have much to do with immersion, but I had to glaze the game a little more before I ended the video. I'm really enjoying it. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. Drop a like, comment your most boring immersive experience, and if you feel so inclined, I'd really appreciate if you donated to my Fight for Air climb that benefits lung cancer research. A shout out to the 3 donators so far, listed right here on the screen. Jump into our Discord for announcements about Grid Tweaker. I've got something big planned for next week, and thank you again for watching. Peace out.